What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Throughout the years of League of Legends, there have been a ton of champions that have proven themselves to just be something else entirely. I'm talking about the champions like Release Xin Zhao, Release LeBlanc, maybe some of the Juggernauts, Kassadin when his ban rate was 99% back in solo queue. These mammoth characters dominated their time and earned their place in the history books, but there's one that stands the true test of time as the most overpowered, the most insanely broken, the most unbelievable champion to ever exist in the history of League of Legends, and that champion is of course Beta Twisted Fate. And just a heads up before we start, I am doing a giveaway with some friends. We're giving away a gaming chair, a headset, a keyboard, some RP. Super easy to enter, just check the link in the description. To set the scene for the League's Gambit, let's start by taking a look at his original lore. Essentially, he was part of a gypsy colony that lived on this side of a river. Thanks to his suspicious luck, no matter what hand he was dealt, he earned the nickname Twisted Fate. Although no one would ever call him out on it because they knew the other reason that he was so famous, he could kill a man at 20 paces with nothing more than a playing card. And he's super strong now in the game thanks to that teleport, and he's pretty much always going to be a threat in solo queue because of it, but back when he was released, it was honestly just stupid how much powerful he was. His strongest point was his beta kit, so we'll definitely focus on that, but we'll also compare it to his much less known alpha release kit for a little bit of extra perspective. His passive in beta was called Second Sight, and it increased all friendly champion critical strike chances by up to 5%. I mean, lore-wise it's pretty cool, he makes his friends lucky, but from a gameplay perspective, that is honestly just ridiculous. One of the most frustrating things that can happen in League is when a Tryndamere or a Yasuo, sometimes even a random AD carry with a 1% crit chance rune just lands a random crit on you in the early game, and it ends up completely deciding an early fight. Now imagine at level 1, every champion on the enemy team had 3% bonus critical strike chance, which moved up to 5% over the course of the game, for free, globally. Just double damage on their auto attacks out of nowhere, doing just enough damage to put you at a huge disadvantage, with the percent chance being high enough to actually be relevant as well. And this would be happening in every lane because it was a global effect. So even the jungler would be clearing their jungle camps faster thanks to his random free crits on the jungle camps. It took Riot a while to catch on to how unhealthy this actually was for the game, but eventually it was replaced by loaded dice that gave a gold advantage slowly with +2 gold per minion kill for his team. At least that took a little bit of time to ramp up into actually useful stats and didn't just mean you lost the laning phase to random critical hits. His Q during the beta phase is the same Twisted Fate wildcards that we all know and love today, which is pretty cool because we still kind of have remnants of what was once the most broken champion in the history of League, but at the time it was essentially just a way more powerful version of it though. It would still throw 3 cards out, but instead it dealt up to 300 base magic damage with an additional 1.0 AP scaling. So build AP, press Q, and everyone would die, that kind of thing. Interestingly enough though, it was actually pretty much nothing like his original Q in the alpha phase, which a lot of you guys might not have known about, which was Seal Fate. This ability worked as a damage over time effect where Twisted Fate would reveal an enemy's fate and they would take periodic damage as a result. The curse would last up to 7 seconds, at which point it would stop damaging them. It was later replaced by a different form of Seal Fate, where he would pull out a powerful card from his deck that would deal a chunk of damage instantly and silence an enemy. The idea was to make him a little bit more useful in teamfights and let him harass a bit better, because his curse was more of a burden on an enemy player than a fun and useful ability for TF to use, and Seal Fate was eventually changed because it was actually too underpowered at the time. Anyway, it was replaced by Pick a Card, and swapped with his Alpha W. At the time, wild cards were his W, to give him an even more broken ability to play with. Speaking of which, before it was his Beta Q with the 3-card skill shot, wild card was actually a completely different ability that was on his W back in the alpha phase. Essentially, it just enhanced his auto attacks with random bonus magic damage, up to 100 bonus damage at max rank. It was kind of like a weirdly awkward version of his current E ability that he has now, and that's pretty much where it ended up as Twisted Fate's own personal on-hit ability. And this on-hit version of his W was actually ridiculously random. It gave him the chance of dealing 1 to 100 extra bonus damage. It wasn't like some sort of pseudo-randomness, it was just totally out there. And this ability was changed to the 3-card skill shot wildcards version in beta like we mentioned, which then later got moved onto his Q, which brings us nicely to his W replacement of Pick a Card. Those of you who are familiar with Twisted Fate at the moment should probably have a pretty good idea of how this ability works. It lets him cycle through 3 different magic cards in his deck that he can use on his next basic attack for bonus effects. And today all 3 effects have their own merit, but back in the day, one of the 3 effects was actually completely useless. And that was actually his old red card, which works pretty much identically to his current one today now. It turns his basic attack into an area of effect that damages a group of enemies and slows them all. That's not to say it was a bad ability, but when you hear about his gold card, you'll definitely realize why you'd never be using it. Before we get into his gold card though, his blue card at the time gave him bonus damage, although a lot less than both gold and red, but his blue card also let him pick a new card straight afterwards. So by using blue card, you could chain bonus damage attacks together by just repeatedly picking blue cards over and over again, but at the time they did not restore mana. It was pretty much used only for tower pushing and sieging and stuff like that, maybe if you wanted some extra sustained damage, but overall, the real jewel of his beta pick a card ability was, of course, his gold card. It was still his hard crowd control tool, letting him dish out a stun effect, but in beta, it was an area of effect ability just like his red card is now. So he could stun an entire group of enemies, and it also dealt twice as much damage as his red card. Yeah, you heard me right, twice as much damage and a 1.5 second stun on an area of effect group of enemies, and that's why you never ever used your red card. It was just strictly worse in literally every single way. Area of effect crowd control is usually on ultimates because it's so damn powerful, but Twisted Fate could do it every 3 seconds. That's right, every 3 seconds, because that was the cooldown on the ability. He could stun an entire group of enemies for 1.5 seconds and deal some massive damage to them as well on his W, with his W by itself. Also, did I mention that it increased his auto attack range by 200, so he could actually do it from far away at a very high range, and because it was an enhanced auto attack effect, it couldn't miss because it wasn't actually a skill shot. And maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. I might be giving some of you guys traumatic flashbacks if you played during beta. Honestly, we could probably stop right here and ignore the entire rest of his kit and he'd still be the most overpowered champion in the game's history because of that one ability alone, but let's keep going because the fun doesn't stop yet. Let's talk about his E, which stayed the same through both alpha and beta. You know, the reason why TF is so powerful now is because his ultimate lets him threaten side lanes every couple of minutes and it gives him a lot of great map pressure. Well, here's a great idea. Let's take the ability and give it a 30-second cooldown and make it only cost 40 mana, and let's scrap the range entirely because who needs that, and make it completely global instead. Welcome to Twisted Fate's original E of Gate. Every 30 seconds, Twisted Fate could appear anywhere on the map to start stun locking a group of enemies while bursting them down low with his Q and extremely low cooldowns. Honestly, there's not really that much to be said about this ability. It was just flat out insane. Potentially one of the most strongest abilities to have ever existed in League of Legends. It did have 2 downsides to try and make it a little bit more fair at least. I mean, Gate wouldn't show him where the enemies were, and it did have a relatively long channel time. It took 3 seconds to cast, so at least enemy players would get a few seconds of peace before they ended up on the death screen. Actually, did I say downsides? I'm sorry, I was just kinda kidding. Thanks to his ultimate Destiny, Twisted Fate could teleport instantly without a 3-second channel, and he would also know exactly where to teleport to. Well, at least for every other Gate cast he could. Destiny was on a extremely long 60-second cooldown at max rank, and it also revealed all enemy champions and slowed them for a while. While Destiny was active, Gate would be an instant teleport effect rather than a 3-second channel, and this was the same for both alpha and beta, and the global slow was actually the least of your worries. Thanks to it revealing the enemy locations and making his Gate teleport instant, he would literally just appear to you on the spot whenever you decided it was your turn to die. You should still feel sorry for him though, because when Destiny was on cooldown, he'd have to teleport so slowly, and you'd maybe get a little bit of an idea where to go in advance. Oh, what a poor thing, what a weak champion, oh my gosh. And March 16th, 2010 was the date when Twisted Fate's rampage finally came to an end, and he went from the most broken champion of all time to the most broken champion in the game after his rework, and changing him to form what we know him today. And Destiny and Gate were combined and balanced with the global slow and instant cast removed. His E was changed to his on-hit stack deck, and the passive was changed to just give his team gold generation rather than critical strike chance, because that was still just a bit too powerful, and he would go on to dominate the game for quite a long time, receive nerf after nerf after nerf, and eventually reach the state we're in today. And that sums up Beta and Alpha Twisted Fate and why he was the most overpowered champion ever. I guess we do have to give a little bit of credit to Riot for managing to finally balance this monster without taking away any of the original ideas in his kit, so fair play to Riot, I guess. I'm just glad I never had to play against it. Anyway, what do you guys think about old Twisted Fate's Beta and Alpha kits? And looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.